Tell my wife I'm gonna go out and get some milk and some smokes.
And I don't judge myself. But then I judge myself, and that's okay too.
You were telling this girl about the time you saw her mother naked.
Welcome back to Buckle Up,
baby.
Buckle Up episode 28.
28. We missed last week.
We missed last week. Personal things.
Yeah.
Valid excuse. We're back on the horse.
Mm-hmm.
Did a couple greatest hits.
So shut up. It's free.
Exactly. That's what Tim Dillon always says.
It's so funny. No, I don't think a single person asked us why we didn't release an episode.
Right. Well, I guess no one gives a shit. But we were just kicking it into gear, speaking about the usuals, the pressures of work, life, balance, providing, head of a household, creative endeavors. And one of the things that's interesting is certain careers like in our community that are acceptable and encouraged. Some of them take a certain amount of time before you start becoming established and making real money.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing with creative fields is that it's not that you can't be successful, but they almost invariably take a lot longer to achieve that success. And I have lately been going through this debate in my head over what if you hypothetically could be told, okay, it's a 10-year program.
Mm-hmm.
Like the building up your human capital in a creative endeavor is a 10-year process.
Yeah.
And then you will likely be in a very, or at least increasingly much more stable place with that, to the point where it's equivalent or it's comparable to other careers. But what took another career 3 years takes you 10 to 15. I don't know what the magic number is. We just don't have that.
Yeah.
And we don't have the luxury of that fixed amount of time, like the way a doctor says, oh, it's going to be this amount of years in med school, then residency, fellowship, these kinds of things. And then once you pass that threshold, that barrier, you're in a more stable place financially.
Right.
We don't have that, but I think a lot of people opt out of it or don't see things through in the long run because obviously it seems more unstable, but maybe it's unstable for just a little bit longer than other endeavors.
But and you feel like at the end of that 10, 15-year run of getting better, you're almost 100% sure you'll have a career.
I'm not 100% sure of everything. I mean, I have a career now. The question is, when you look at people that you're comparing yourself to or comparable careers or whatever, the story is the same old story every single time. Like 10 years to an overnight success.
Mm-hmm.
Like you find, even for this podcast, for example, let's say it's not going to take 3 months and then we'll be a like revenue generating business that's stable in the first 3 months. That's not how a successful podcast develops and becomes successful. Joe Rogan's podcast, we should compare. Joe Rogan's podcast, he did it for like 9 years.
Yeah.
And to get to the point where he is now, or then 9 years before the 3 years that it took to get to the point where he is now. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And he was also doing it before there was even an expectation to make money off a podcast.
Correct. It was there was like a 9-year building development period that nobody paid attention. And what I'm saying is, forget me as the subject here. I'm just saying that in any successful creative endeavor or artistic endeavor, it's the same old story almost every single time, with the exception of people who have success really early. But even when they do, they're not necessarily resilient enough or haven't built enough artistic development to sustain that success, even if they get success early on. Yeah. So if that's the case, then why? I guess I have this debate going on in my head, like why put so much anxiety and pressure on yourself if that's just what it takes and you just have to be patient.
Right.
And I think it's obviously because you're squaring off with a lifestyle and a family and a community that has certain demands to it. And
so you were saying that doctors and lawyers don't feel ashamed to be supported through law school and med school.
Right.
And but why do creatives feel ashamed to borrow money or take money or be supported by parents or whatever?
Right. That's
or live below their means until they're successful.
Right. I guess that's the macro comparison. Like, why does one get such, heat, discouragement, like has such a stigma to it, and the other one doesn't?
Right. And
they all have their different timelines.
Yeah. But I think because, as a creative, you're betting on your own talent. You're not betting on necessarily the market or the job market. Whereas a lawyer can reasonably say, give me $200,000 to go through law school and I will get a job reasonably. I was saying
I
a
hear that.
creative can't necessarily say, give me $200,000 and I'll be able to pay you back.
Mm-hmm.
You might be able to if you're good enough and the market allows it. But those two things are two pretty big ifs. So you're betting on yourself.
Yes. Although I have heard stories of people going through those safer options and they still end up in the same boat. Right. And the only problem is they're miserable and unfulfilled and don't like what they do, but they're like, why did I do this if this was the safe bet if I don't even like it?
Well, that's the whole student loan crisis now, where you can go to college and still not be able to pay it back, and go to grad school and still not be able to pay it back.
Correct. Right. So if you're gonna be, well, Jim Carrey made a speech once, like, if you're gonna fail, you might as well fail at something you love than something you hate.
Yeah.
Now, people have the luxury of saying that's a cushy statement, but I understand it. I understand the sentiment. And yeah, I don't know. I just think about like what the long game is because we don't know. And then I start to find, like, we've spoken about this before, that like people I've spoken to, I've overheard conversations and had conversations with people who were in those safe lanes, who are like now at a point where they're like, I don't know. It looks like, because what has happened was certain decisions were made by certain people to go into like safer, more stable careers, and they saw the fruits of that success earlier than people who went into more unstable but more fulfilling careers, passionate careers. And now at that, like, the 10 to 15 year mark, the passionate careers are starting to be where the safer careers were in the early days. Yeah. Where it was like, oh, things are kind of happening. So, what looked like, I don't know, a pipe dream is like, oh my God, nobody stuck with it. And now it's starting to be like, oh my God, now you're, like starting to see success from those efforts. It just took a different timeline.
And not only that, but the people who had the stable careers and profited early off of them, everyone, no matter who you are, is going to experience a downturn and like a reversal of fortune. And what I found is a lot of people who went the very safe route and like sort of appeared very stable for a long time, it's an appearance, and like they'll get laid off. The market, their bank will lay people off. The market will go down, and like they'll inevitably.
I hope so, Mike.
I know,
really hope.
Fingers crossed. And then they come to you and they go, "You were right the whole time."
And then
teach me how to live. No, but they, but they.
I sucked the coffee back.
No, but I've seen it with people really close to me where they then sort of like revert to my 23-year-old self, and they're like, so how do I figure it out? Like, how do I make a business card? How do I find a job? How do I reach out to people? And you're like, oh, like I've been doing that for 15 years. Like I know how to figure it out. Yeah. And everyone's gonna have to do that at some point, no matter who you are. I guess there's the few lucky few, but now I'm even seeing, like, you see baby boomers who like are partners, whatever, and then like in their 60s things go south, and like they're like really fucked. Like they get depressed, like they really don't know how to move forward, and they need to like pay for all their kids like grad schools and lives and stuff.
Can we have a few of them on?
We should know. I'm thinking of someone specific. It's like he was like the man, and then like things in his industry went south, and like
he didn't possess any of the soft skills to be adaptable.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know him that well. Maybe he did, but like he's been in like a 10-year funk, right? Like and it's and like it's tough to see, but like but what you get from sort of betting on yourself early is that you get those skills, and also during COVID you also saw like people like for the first time had to like work at home and like manage a schedule, and like they're like, I don't know how to do this.
And us freelancers were like, exactly. No big deal. It's like I'm like, everyone was like, it's so great being home. I'm like, this sucks. My kids are home. They're in my space. I've been doing this for 10 years. Yeah. This is my house. This is my zone. Yeah. Everyone's like, I get to do bath time. I'm like, I've been doing bath time forever. But what's interesting is about what you just said is I am curious about, like, I guess our parents' generation and how they approached career and what they're like supposed to do. Our generation and younger is definitely more like purpose and passion driven of like, what do I want to do, as opposed to like what's available to me, what's practical, like what do I have to do to get out of sort of the working class, you know, I know from my parents, they were coming from that world of like Holocaust survivor parents, and then wanting to get out of that,
right?
And then sort of aligning themselves with what they enjoyed, but mainly also what would be really lucrative careers,
aka professional class, like graduate degree, doctor, lawyer, banker,
the professional class generation,
right?
And then out of that, they were able to be successful and then have children who could then have choices.
Right.
That's went beyond that scope. It's like now they're not working in the like factories and textile, whatever, but now you have a generation of kids off of that who have like choices. Oh, do you want to pursue more of the artistic stuff, which comes off of that? But then it's like this confusing.
We've grown to resent them for that.
So yeah, listen, it's not I don't have any resentment, but I know the joke. I get the joke. But it's more about like, it's a grass is always greener thing where growing up with a little like deprived and sort of with it, you know, having to be like builds a lot of skills of resourcefulness and prudence and things like that that you lack when you grow up more comfortable, and then you're sort of lost out there in the world a little bit on how to manage all of that.
For sure. And it takes a decade or two to reconcile that.
Yes.
Which is what me and you have been doing.
Yeah, ultimately I always am big on just being accountable. Like, you know, you could say, oh, I was given this, everyone's handed their own deck, and then you're accountable ultimately. It's one thing when you're 15 or 16 to be complaining about something like in your household or how your parents are doing with you and handling you, but once you're 25, 35, whatever, 40, that is what it was, and now you have that to contend with, and you got to deal with it yourself. It's all you.
Rav Weinberger, this rabbi, I really like. Yeah. He talks about the people in his Five Towns community a lot, and he's like, yeah, this guy is telling me, you know, like I want to get up and go pray at synagogue in the morning, but it's so difficult to get up because my father used to force me. And he's like, you're 40 years old. What does your father have to do with getting up in the morning? What are you talking to me about? You're 40. You have to move on.
You get all high pitched like that?
What?
You get all high pitched? You're 40. No, but it's true.
He does Bill Burr. What are you talking about?
Oh, dude, you're 40 years old. It's like there's a Jordan Peterson line he was being interviewed, and they were like, so why should men, why do you think it's important for men to be men? You know, he's like, because there's nothing worse than an old infant. There's nothing, they become resentful and malevolent. You know, there's nothing worse than an old infant. And I've known a couple of those in my day. Old infants who blame past things and don't take the reins and accountability for themselves and having to deal with it. Listen, also you have the trap of like when you're like.
Can I interrupt? Is my mic on? Hello?
Yeah.
Oh, it is on. Okay, sorry.
I muted it. I just think I've got a lot of requests. How's the camera? Did we kick the thing? It looks a little off. Are we good?
No, I think it's good. Okay. Yeah.
All right.
We'll find out.
The people. Can we just pause for a second? I'm going to put a pin here.
Yeah.
Guys, what's with the hate to Mike? So many. You think it's my followers? I guess it has to be. Yeah. There's a lot of AJ comedy followers that are just spitting poison pills at Mike.
Well, I mean,
they hate you.
A lot.
They hate your essence.
A lot of your fans are uneducated white men.
Right.
Who
a lot of the people online are uneducated white men.
They have a hard time grappling with complexity.
Right.
And I find it so interesting how many people feel the need to defend Elon Musk.
Well, you know,
we're like someone.
He's done a lot, Michael. So. Yeah.
I think what one guy just wrote. This Mike. ...
What does that mean? This Mike?
Like this dude. This dude.
I'm loving it because we're getting a reaction out of people, so that's all good. The fact that people are emoting is good.
I really like it. I don't know what it's like to watch a video online and then have the impulse to like comment on one of the people's physical appearances or even on their opinion. Like,
right.
What's going on in your mind?
I comment on like skills. Like when I see somebody blow my mind, and sometimes I'll feel compelled to say, you know, like Harry Mack.
Yeah, I love.
When I watch a Harry Mack freestyle, sometimes I'm just like, I just write, dude, it's amazing to see. I've written things like, I've never seen anybody this good at anything than Harry Mack is at freestyling.
We should have. You think he would come on for like a 10-minute?
Maybe, man. Thank you. Thank you so much. Can I freestyle for you? So why don't you throw out a word?
Like, Harry, stop freestyling.
I can't.
Don't want you to freestyle.
H Mack on the corner in the lot
help me, guys.
Putting words up. I can't say.
He's so good.
I can't. I've never seen any.
And he brings so much joy to people also.
Thank you so much, man. I can do that impression, but the freestyle is too hard.
And then he goes back to his tent and sleeps under a bridge.
Something.
I'm really curious about his day-to-day financials, about what his situation is. Because he's so good at something that doesn't seem to make you any money.
That's not true.
No, he doesn't rap. He doesn't do tracks on people. He doesn't get paid to rap on people's tracks.
No, but he does like nursing homes and insurance.
Does he?
No.
What does he do? I really want to know.
First of all, he has a following.
I feel like the government should write him a check every month.
I understand.
I
think I don't know his financials, but listen, if you have an audience, you have brand sponsorships and brand deals that are some income for content creators. He's a content creator.
But some of his videos are not. I'm floored by how unviral they are. Like they'll have 2,000 likes, and I'm like,
oh, I see. You just think it's so undeserved. He deserves so much more.
I think he deserves.
He is
so
touring
much.
And he is busy. I think it's just
live events and stuff.
Yeah, he does live where they throw up words on the screen and he keeps.
Oh, that's cool. Okay, so maybe that's how
he's making it.
Okay,
he's doing it. Patience.
You know,
it's just mind blowing freestyle.
Yeah,
mind blowing.
Have you listened to my first million? That show?
Yes, a little bit. Podcast, right?
Yeah, I'm like a little embarrassed about how much I like it, but what they do is they'll talk. I just listened to an episode where they'll bring on a successful businessman and then talk to them super details, like tell me how much money you spend every month and what you spend it on.
I like that.
So like a guy just came on, he's like I spend probably like $150,000 a month, and they're like, on what? And they get into it. Like I would love to do that with like our guests. Like, how do you pay your electric bill?
Right. It is a fascinating area of life that for some reason has, like, there's a lot of wealth content out there, but there's not a lot of numbers, dollars and cents content.
Yeah.
There is something about money that is so protected and kept private. I don't know where that comes from culturally, but think about it. Everyone talks about success and general wealth and accomplishment. Like that's all over the place. But no one talks about what you're talking about. Wait a minute. Okay, babe. How much do you make? Yeah. How much is that amount? Yeah. What are your expenses? Like that's the stuff that's helpful. Yeah. Not like the inspiration porn, right? Yeah. Like it also, that could be informative and educational, but even in the most even in sophisticated business school, right? They're not like, they don't talk about that. What do I know about business school? I'm just saying you don't see that much of that information divulged. Yeah. Sometimes you'll see like Gary V's on the Nelk Boys. They're like, how much do you make a year? You know, like they'll ask him a question like that. And it's a fun question and it's a viral moment because everyone kind of wants to know. Like, what are you making for this and this? But it's very rarely openly broken down. And it's so much less interesting also. Like it's so much less interesting to know someone makes $100 million a year because that's not, you can't even understand what that means. Right. But you can understand I give my nanny $60,000 a month to watch my kids. Then you're like, oh wow, you need to make a lot of money to do that, right? And like that, and they're like, how much would I have to make to do that? And I'm like, what would I have to do to do that? Like, makes it a lot more concrete. Yeah, and also a lot of the money gurus out there. I mean, they're so broad, and then when they do get detailed, it's so fluffy. Here's what you got to do. I mean, so you have one client, and then they may draw a bunch of arrows on a whiteboard, and you're like, huh? You know, it doesn't make like Grant Cardone style. You know, you have 5 clients. You have another 5 clients. Now you have 10. If each 10 does 1,000 a month, right? That's 10,000. If you add another 10,000 to that, you get 20. Subtract that from 100,000. That's $90K after tax, $55,000 a year. You could be doing that in a month if you want it. Do you want it? Okay. Instead of a year, think about it per month. Now you have $55K a month. Saw that leap? $55K a month. Add that, but subtract the 5, because if you don't want to add the 5s to your monthly quarters, you can do it. I did a video on him once. It was like, I tell people they can make $1 million overnight. You don't know Grant Cardone? No. I tell people you can make $1 million overnight. I know, Grant, but they can't. I know, but I tell them that. Yes, Grant, but they can't. I know, but I tell them that. You don't know who Grant Cardone is? He's one of the. He's out there. He's out there. He's out there. I don't know why I sounded like that. Is he like a grifter? A grifter's not the right word. You got to check it out. Just check out the content. Right. We'll cover some more of it.
I watched Gary V on Logan Paul.
Yeah, ImPaulsive.
I watched the whole thing.
Yes.
Did you watch the whole thing?
Not the whole thing. I got some engagement. I commented on a post. ImPaulsive responded, and then they talked about the impersonations.
Yeah, they did. They talked about my boy Nemaz.
Yeah, nice. He's solid. There's a bunch of us out there.
He's the best.
They also featured Trevor Wallace's video underneath one of theirs in one of their clips. He did like, you know who Trevor Wallace is?
No.
Anyway, I'm not trying to change the show. Like, what do you want to say about
No. What was your thoughts on it? Because I
only saw clips.
Speaking of grifters, Gary V was on. Logan Paul was on the show, so it just came to mind.
Why would you consider that?
Well, he talked a little bit about how people think he's a grifter, but he's really not.
About Logan?
No, Gary V.
That people think he's like snake oil, that kind of thing.
I've been finding it really fascinating to listen to Gary V talk for long periods of time, like not
finally wind it down, not like punch.
Yeah, he's very in touch. He's very honest with himself and very in touch with himself and aware of like what his gifts are and what his gifts aren't. And it's just nice to hear someone talk that way.
Yeah.
And like he's very humble to like the ebbs and flows of the nature of what he does. Like there's going to be ups and downs, and like
he doesn't drink or smoke, kind of like me. He's clean. Remember they asked him about that?
Yeah, which was I think he could probably use a J at the end of the night.
But I identify with that a little bit, you know.
Yeah. But it's for different reasons. He promised his mom he wouldn't.
What?
He promised his mom he wouldn't.
Is that what he said?
Yeah, his mom said no drugs.
Oh, interesting.
So he's like, okay.
But he clearly also has that energy. He doesn't need it. Like he's just like, I like being totally focused, totally aware. Honestly, it's just about self-awareness. Yeah. It's self-awareness, knowing who the fuck you are.
Yeah, he's obsessive. I get it. There's a gear I can go into. That I was in for many years that I find just doesn't leave any room for like anything else in life, like family and friends and like human connection.
Yeah.
But it's very simple to just be 100% focused on like growth and profit. Like
he is? Like success?
Yeah, like it's
simple. It's not easy.
It's not easy, but simple. And like sometimes doing the simple thing is easier than getting up and being like more complex. Like he happens to be very, very good at what he does, so there's a feedback loop of it.
He does have he has the gift of like laser focused, and everything is always very crystal clear to him as to what his priorities are. It seems he presents that way. Everything is, even like an off day is crystal clear to him. Sometimes like you need to take a break. That's okay. Like everything is exactly way. I don't want to go to the gym today, and you know what? I didn't, and I don't judge myself. But then I judge myself, and that's okay too.
Yeah,
like everything is okay. Yeah, everything.
The thing I was rubbing up against with him was
that's a strange way to say it, but yeah. you did a little rub and tug to an ImPaulsive episode with Gary V. Good for you.
What was he saying? I mean, do you follow what he says about NFTs?
A little bit, but yeah, a little. I have to digest enough Gary V content these days.
I'm actually curious. Do you how have you digested probably everything he puts out and then commented on it like without buying an NFT? Like do you even know a lot about NFTs?
Me?
Yeah, like do you just watch it for like are you able to completely like separate the content from like the person and just like
here's the benefit of parody, Michael. Okay, let me explain how humor works to you. You don't have to know everything. You just have to know enough so that it just makes sense when you're doing a bit, but not make sense. That makes it funny.
So I
know the terminology, and I know what an NFT is. Yeah, but I don't. I'm not like trafficking in that, like buying and selling NFTs. I'm trafficking in making fun of it. So my ignorance of it is a benefit, because I can say, honestly, like, we should take this fucking table, draw a picture of it, and make a pigeon on there and sell it for $50K on OpenSea.
Right.
So I can talk like that.
So what that reminds me of something Scott Godin said once. He's the guy who wrote...
Seth Godin.
So this is his brother Scott.
Scott.
Yeah, he's got a full head of hair. He's very heavy, and he's very unsuccessful. Scott Godin.
Okay, way to lean into that.
No, Seth Godin. He wrote that book, The Dip, that we talked about. He has this line I think about all the time. I'm gonna bring it back to what he said about doing the impression, where he said he found out about the internet very, very early. And so what a smart person would have done was find out about the internet, make good investments, and then retire like 10 years early. And he's like, instead of doing that, he wrote a book that chronicled every website that existed and how to get to them. And he published that. He's like, because I'm a writer. That's what writers do. They write about the things.
As
They
opposed to
don't,
what though?
as,
What should
as,
he have done instead?
as opposed to investing his money into like Google. He wrote a book about Google.
Right.
Like you see with these cryptos guys also, like Ben Mesrich, he might have also bought a lot of crypto, but like he wrote a book about the guys that started Bitcoin.
Because he's a writer.
He didn't just put all his money into Bitcoin and sit back because he's a writer. So I'm saying with you, like you see Gary Vee and you're like, instead of like figuring out how to make money off NFTs, you're like, how can I impersonate this guy? And like that's all you see when the video
That's
comes
my
at you.
gold.
Those are your eyes.
100%.
It's cool. It's interesting.
100%.
Yeah.
I can't. You know why? Because I know funny. I don't know the other stuff.
Right.
I just don't. I can't pretend. The second I step into areas that I have no authority in, and no real capacity to fully understand enough, I think, to like be successful with it.
Yeah.
Like, I think you're only buying the Net Boys meta card because it feels like some rager trend that you just don't want to miss and be that guy, has that story about him who made $1 zillion off that lucky thing. You want to win the lottery when you do that, don't you?
Well, yes and no.
When you're dropping how much on
I didn't buy the meta card.
How much was it going for?
What was it going for? Probably like $1,000.
Okay, I bought a few of those things just to like let me play here a little bit. I bought
did?
a few crypto, not Metacard, but not even
some
NFTs.
coins, yeah.
I couldn't because so to answer your question, honestly, there was a time when I was like, Gary Vee's screaming from the rooftops, and he's done it millions of times beforehand.
Yeah.
And people missed out on like making a lot of money because his trend predictions are usually right.
Yeah.
And I was on a Clubhouse room with actual like listening to Gary. He's like, I'm telling you guys, NFTs are a space. Not just a space, but a space. Okay? I haven't felt this way since fucking Facebook.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you something. MetaMasks, hemp masks, Bored fucking Apes. Look up Bored Apes, get an OpenSea wallet. Like, he starts telling me these things. I don't even understand what the terms are, but I'm like, okay.
And you didn't even click?
I tried to.
Oh, you tried.
But I didn't have a license.
Yeah.
It was expired.
Yeah.
My California license had just expired in the summer, so I was trying to set up MetaMask and all that. And because I couldn't have a verified, literally.
It's an expensive mistake.
I don't think so. I think I would have lost money. Probably.
You probably would have.
Yeah. So it saved me, but I was like, let me see. And I went through the steps to set up all those like scary, like put in the code and this and that. And here's your code numbers and all those things. And it said, license not valid. And please submit current form of ID.
Yeah.
And I couldn't do it. So I was like, all right, forget it. It's not for me.
Yeah.
And it might have been, and I was with some guys recently who was like, yeah, he's got a Bored Ape for like $400K. Maybe he'll sell. Yeah. I was like, interesting. But then you hear about those guys who like bought. In 2010, I walked by a Bitcoin mining shop in the city. Yeah. And I'm like, what the hell is Bitcoin? It said, buy your Bitcoin, 10 cents each. So what if I just bought 1,000 of those back then for like $100? Did I do my math right? I'd be a zillionaire right now? Would that be a millionaire? What? No, yeah. That can't be. It can't be that easy. It's so hard to make money. It can't be that easy.
Well, it's funny. Certain people, the person who told me about Bitcoin has an otherworldly knack for making money. Like, okay. That's his thing.
So like, that's why he's the one that's doing it and not you.
Brands, yeah, and is like, I can tell that brand is gonna blow up in 18 months, and he'll like buy their shit. Like that's his thing, and yeah.
So here's the larger analyses. Here's the larger analysis of that. I don't think it's that Gary Vee is, or people like him, are making money with NFTs because of the NFTs. I think they just have a knack maybe for finding angles and making money. And NFTs are just the latest manifestation of that.
NFTs are not real things, so that's all it is, of course.
So this friend of yours would make money and you wouldn't, and neither would I.
Exactly, but no, that's exactly it. Yeah. And I haven't spoken to this guy, but I have to imagine, unless he's totally set out the NFT, he would be like a world-class NFT investor because like he has the eye for that stuff. What I have the eye for, I think, is like I understand that.
You understand what's gonna happen and never act on it.
No. Pretty much. Like, it's pretty much. So I'm trying to act on. Like, I understand that when I find out about something and I get into it,
You're usually early?
I'm the last class before it goes mainstream.
Public.
Yeah, like and that was the
Your
case.
ear's in the room enough.
That was
You're
the
in
case with Ethereum and Bitcoin.
Right.
Like I found out about it like 6 months before
So
it blew up, and like that happens with bands and TV shows and
You're
like
following
things.
closely enough to be like, huh, but you're never trusting your spidey instincts.
Right. So I'm trying to do that more. The NFTs I bought wasn't that. That was just an attempt to flip something, and like I didn't lose it. I lost like a few $100, but like but now I found out about something, and like I'm getting all those feelings of like I'm in the right room, and like I should. I'll say it's called chimpers. I'll say it like chimpers.
Make your prediction.
It's the same thing where like I opened up WhatsApp at the right time. I went into the NFT chat. I never check it, but I saw this thing, and I just followed the line, and like I ended up in this place, and I'm like, I think I'm in the right place. So I'm gonna try to buy it because like I'm gonna try to trust my instincts on this one.
Right.
Whereas I wouldn't necessarily do that. But that's also with like TV show ideas and movie shows, like where I'll also have an idea and be like, that's so simple and great, and just kind of not pursue it for no reason.
Interesting. I always find that those are interesting moments when like the products of what you engage with dictate sort of where you end up on any given night.
Yeah.
For example, like because that was very abstract and vague what I said, but like the way you said it, I opened up WhatsApp. It happened to take me to this because you've been engaging in all these things, and then all of a sudden the environments and products you engage with take you on a little journey, and that happens. And I notice like I go on Instagram, a comedy club pops up on my story that I follow, says open mics tonight or some kind of show tonight. So I click the link to that. It takes me down this other place, and this is all because I've been following and been suggested and been engaging with these kinds of platforms and accounts.
Yeah.
So I'm getting these suggestions. And then I find myself hours later at a club doing a thing, meeting certain people. And I followed the thread all the way through. I'm like, man, I don't even know how I got here. But I do if I think about it. But it's a funny thing when you allow what you've put out into the world to kind of then take you by the hand and take you somewhere.
So that's one way to look at it, that like you're in charge, like you're putting something out and then like it's giving you back. Like the way I see it more is like a lot of our lives are being dictated by like WhatsApp's algorithm. Like it's not just a coincidence that like you open up Twitter and it opens up on a particular tweet.
Of course.
Like they know what they're doing.
Yeah.
And like that's based on your previous
there's
action, but they're also trying to promote a particular behavior from you.
Right, but it's also you have decided to engage with it, and now it's a relationship. So now you've put in.
Yeah.
I think it's a give and take. So it's like the farm. You know, you've put the seeds in.
Yeah, it is.
You've put in a certain type of seed. That seed mixes with the elements of what's out there, and it gives you what you know. The difference is the seeds are smart,
right. So,
and the seeds can know what you're thinking after you plant them, and can maybe change in the middle.
So I look at the whole universe that way.
Fuck the plant,
where it's like,
and then you fuck the plant. I'm sorry, that's an old 40-year-old's virgin reference.
And
you know, like if you want to lose your virginity, a woman's like a plant. You gotta water the plant, put the seeds in, and then you grow the plant, and then you fuck the plant.
Seth Rogen.
I don't have it down right now. Sometimes I do because you and me.
I'm watching Pam and Tommy now with Sarah. He has a way of like truly ruining projects.
Jeez.
He's associated. He not ruining.
I don't know what Pam and Tommy is. I forgot.
It's about. It's this amazing concept. About basically it's the story of like the birth of the internet in a way where like this guy found the Pam and Tommy sex tape. He stole a safe. Inside the safe was the sex tape.
Inside of a pickle container. I'm just kidding.
Why pickle container?
American Pickle.
Oh yeah, right. It's the Seth Rogen universe. Yes. I know that was harsh to say. He ruins everything he's part of, but like, and then it's really the story.
Wait for
like,
the hate on you. Who the fuck is this guy dissing Seth Rogen? Guy in the beanie don't know shit.
No, and he's a good friend, and we love to have him on the show.
Yeah.
But anyway, no, it's this awesome show that like, and then he's like acting in it, and it's like he just brings that like one tone that he brings to everything.
Yeah.
And it's like the whole time you're watching him, you're like, you're not this character, you're Seth Rogen. Like I know who you are. And it just totally brings me out of the whole show.
Right.
But it's an awesome concept that just kind of falls flat anyway with the show. But
back to we were talking about the WhatsApp universe, the algorithm universe, leading you on a journey.
Right. So when you
engage.
The same way you have to be cognizant of the fact of like I'm at this comedy club today in part because of Twitter and their developers and like their algorithm, and that's fine. But also like when you walk into the world, just realize like most of what we do and what we decide to do are just results of like the things coming at us and around us, and like a lot of the things we think of as free will are mostly just reactions to things that are coming our way.
Well, that's a deeper point.
How is it different? Like,
well, I just mean you're talking about if someone has
it
free
is a deeper
will.
point. It's a deeper point.
Does someone have free will or not?
Yeah.
I mean, you wake up and you engage with the world and make decisions throughout the day. How those decisions get influenced and where those preferences come from remains to be seen. Sure, it's both. It's everything.
It's both.
So you would click Instagram and you like certain things. You watch certain things.
Yeah.
I watch a bass video, a music video. I watch Victor Wooten. I watch Corey Wong, some Wolfpack, a little bit of politics, a little bit of JP, a little bit of Gary Vaynerchuk. You know what I'm saying? I don't know what happened there. I'm sorry. I have an Italian personality that everyone's a little Joey Diaz. I watch a little Rogan.
When you talk about content, you just get very
there are a lot of things you're doing passively, like watching a video, where if you spend more than 15 seconds on it, that's information for the algorithm. So in a way, yes, you're feeding the algorithm, but I like it, so I'm watching it.
Sure, yeah.
Initially. Yeah. And then it says, you may like this, you may like this. And yes, it's manipulative in a way.
No.
But, you know, I'm always a little more on the optimistic side of that argument or that point that you're making, which is the algorithm is trying to please me, not trying to own me.
I'm not sure.
Think about that.
I'm not sure anyone can say exactly what the algorithm's goals are.
Well, they want a user to stay.
Yeah, but
it's like the algorithm is
the question is, what does it mean to stay? What does it mean to stay? It doesn't mean to stay on for the next like we don't know what Facebook's quarterly and annual goals
Oculus.
are. Yeah, no, for real though.
It's to stay and have ads be pointed at you, ads of products that you will like.
There's a lot of questions. Stay for how long? If they get me to stay for a full 24 hours, and then I delete the app because I go nuts, that's not good for them. So it's between 0 minutes and 24 hours. Like what's the ideal? Like there's a lot of things going on.
But every generation, every new technology meets its resistance and fear and trouble. Everyone's like, the television, they're just gonna sit there and watch all day. No one's gonna do anything. It just didn't happen that way.
It's kind of true.
A little bit, but it's sort of like supplemented other things and replaced other things. They're never gonna go to the theater again, or maybe there'll be more theater because people. There's always this.
You know what was true though?
What?
On that point?
Yeah.
They said blogging would ruin journalism, and I think it might have.
Oh, maybe.
I think blogging ruined journalism.
You think so? Because I don't know. How many we just believed all of it.
Believed all of what?
Legacy classic journalism.
I just mean that like now journalists have just become these like op-ed bloggers pretty much instead of like doing actual journalism because that's what gets the clicks.
Right. I did see we've been on Gary Vee just as a guy a lot on this episode, but he also said about NFTs. It's like you're all going to be using NFTs eventually. That's how you're going to get into fucking Coachella.
Yeah.
With an NFT. Right? Like you're all going to get into Coachella with an NFT. Whether you like it or not, it's coming. Get yourself acquainted with it. Just like when the internet was happening, there were so many people, doubters, this is nonsense. What is this? How would you explain the internet pre-internet? You just couldn't. And there'll be a day when you'll be explaining to like your generation, like he was talking to like younger people. He was like, look, you don't know what it's like to not have a smartphone. I do. I didn't have a smartphone until after college. I went through all my adolescence in college without a smartphone. And I couldn't even explain to you what that was like. You can't even imagine life without it. And I'm telling you the same thing is true for NFTs. Eventually, you're going to explain to younger people, I didn't have NFTs growing up. Really? How did you pay for anything? So he's saying it's that big.
Yeah.
The point being, there is no point. That every technology is met with fear and uncertainty. And eventually, it's just, I think it's still overall, the needle tips more towards progress and life improvement rather than things getting worse.
I'm not even arguing with you. I think it's a good illustration, like the way the social media apps work and all that is a good illustration of like how the universe works. It's instructive to be like, I just have to give some credit to everything around me for everything I accomplish. It's not. I'm not all of anything. I'm not
I know.
doing it
That's
all
not
on
what
my
I
own.
was saying
Yeah.
about the journeys that WhatsApp or Instagram took us on.
Yeah.
I give it credit.
Yeah.
It's both. It was sort of like I told it all. But for me, I'm always using it and following and doing these things and like engaging with it. And then sometimes it's funny to notice when the reverse happens, when in fact it does completely take you.
Yeah.
Click here, go here. And then you find yourself in real life in flesh and blood in a situation with other flesh and blood human beings. You're like, how did I get here? How did I even find out about this? It was just because I clicked at the right time.
So what guys like Elon Musk and like Jack Dorsey talk about are like, why are we even going through this whole rigmarole of like having the thing in our hand outside of us, pretending like I tell it what it likes, I like, and then it tells me what to
put it
do.
into our brains.
Yeah. Let's, instead of holding it in our hands, let's just put it inside our bodies. And instead of like
Neuralink.
Yeah, instead of doing all that back and forth, it'll know what I want, and then it'll tell me what to do. And like it's hard to argue. Like I'm with my son, like my baby, like we're
baby?
my baby.
We have to close with a plug for that, by the way.
My baby.
Yeah.
And like I'm holding him. I leave the room and then I go, oh, and then I go back into the dining room, grab my phone and put it in my pocket. And he's thinking, oh, this is a part of his body that he can't leave a room without.
Mm-hmm.
Like this is his. This is like part of daddy. Like that. This is daddy and this is daddy's phone, and they need to be together. Like, of course, these kids are gonna grow up and think,
his first words are gonna be.
I already see him like tapping his hip every. No, but
it's a great question.
Of course,
it
they're
feels
gonna grow
icky.
up.
But why is it any different?
They're gonna grow up thinking like, why did they even hold it? What was the point of having it in your
This
hand?
is
Just
so
have it in
annoying.
here. Yeah, like they're like those apes. And yeah, and like
And then the first child will be born with a Neuralink pre-installed in utero. Someone's gonna blow Elon Musk, and yeah, it's gonna happen.
Yeah.
By the power of my own organic semen, I placed a Neuralink inside of her skull.
Tim Dillon has a really funny bit about how all these people on the right were like,
I'm sorry.
we're like,
When you said that, I was thinking about his vacation reviews. When I'm in the rainforest, I want luxury. Okay? I don't care about the animals. Yes, beautiful. Yes, the trees are beautiful. I want luxury. Okay? He's on vacation. When he's on vacation.
he's the most like high maintenance queen in the world.
Oh my
He's
God.
so funny.
Oh. Anyway, yes.
He's, no, where he's saying like they're all saying don't get the vaccine because the government wants to put a chip in your brain.
Oh.
Elon Musk is saying, I actually want to put a chip in your brain. And they're like, yes, he bought Twitter.
That's a great that's a funny bit about it. His special's coming out, I don't know when, but I saw a clip in it.
He said on the Patreon he might not release it because like he doesn't like it. Oh. I know you like that clip. I'm a stan for Tim Dillon. Yeah. I did not find that clip funny whatsoever.
Really?
You said you were cackling at it?
The thing about the labia.
Yeah, it's just like so like
it was nice because I haven't seen Tim Dillon live almost never, like little bits and little clips.
Yeah.
It was just nice to see him in there's a few clips online. There's not a lot of Tim Dillon stand-up clips online that you can watch. There just isn't.
Yeah.
And I just thought that clip was him in like stand-up mode.
Yeah.
And I found it hilarious. We're gonna turn it into a. How did you not think that was so funny?
I didn't think it was funny.
Wow.
I think
there's always some teacher out of San Francisco who's like to a class of kindergartners. This is my lady. Have you been watching Libs of TikTok? Do you know what that is? Do you know about all these?
I know she got doxxed.
But do you know what videos have been circulating?
No.
Okay, so that's what he's making fun of. A real thing. I guess you don't get the joke.
Yeah, that could be.
I'm saying he's not just like making fun of random crazy teachers. There's like videos that circulate all over TikTok, and they got very popular because of this account called Libs of TikTok, where it's actual footage, it's actual videos made by teachers who are like, so today we're discussing gender non-binary, and yes, I am gender non-binary, I am polysexual, and I'm going to be talking to my class, and she teaches pre-K. Mm-hmm. Yes, and I have a BLM flag, and I have a trans flag, and we're going to be talking about this, and we're going to be talking about white privilege. That's what I do in my class every day. Deal with it, parents.
And then they retalk the
and all that
Libs
of TikToks, either like Libs of TikTok will download that and say this teacher out of San Francisco, and then just like they're posting all these things that are freaking out like parents and like challenging school boards, like what is going on in the classroom over here with this, indoctrinating, propagandizing like woke stuff happening to children. Yeah. So I don't know if they're blowing if Libs of TikTok is blowing it out of proportion. But no, they're not. It's a real problem. But the point is, Tim Dillon was making fun of that.
Got it.
And he took it further. He's like, okay, kids, it's a kindergarten class. This is my labia. But tonight, I'm going to turn it into a cock. How did you not? And tomorrow, we're going to name that cock. You didn't think that
Out of context, I thought he was just like saying dirty words and getting
No,
laughs.
so he was making fun of these videos. So it's a stretch from what the videos say, but it's not too much of a stretch.
I guess I didn't get it.
So you just didn't get it, man.
It's possible I didn't get it.
I was dying. After watching all these Libs and TikTok videos, that's what he was talking about.
The thing, I die when he just sits in front of a microphone for an hour by himself and talks. Like, I think there's no one better than him.
But on this subject, actually, I'm enjoying watching with a more attentive eye other people stand up and how they do it, how they deliver, and like finding the craft in different people's stand-up styles, because it's easy to get lost in Tim's style because he has a very distinct style. But I'm looking for his jokes, like, and the writing and all that, because I'm now in this process daily of writing material. I have a show next week, and I'm like prepping for it and like just figuring out how to actually. So when I see Tim doing that, it's like refreshing because it's not his podcast voice. Yeah. It's actual, like with stand-up, it's not. It presents like you're just riffing and talking, but it's actually, setups and punches and tags, and you're just trying to like figure it out. So I like seeing that.
I saw a great Pete Holmes clip today.
So,
tell me what you think about this. I'll tell you the joke. I thought it was very expertly written. He said, "It seems to me like the same people who are against marriage are also very pro tattoo." Mm-hmm. He says, "A guy with a Sublime tattoo on his neck will come up to me and say, 'Man, how can you make such a lifelong commitment?'" It's like three sections.
Is that the joke?
That's the joke. No, but it's funny.
Yes.
And it's very succinctly constructed.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you can make that same joke. You can have that idea of like, there's something funny to me about people with tattoos not wanting to get married. And like from that nugget to that joke, I could imagine a lot of like figuring out how to say that as succinctly as possible.
100%.
You know what I mean?
It's a clever
what do
joke.
You think when you hear
It's a clever joke.
Yeah.
It's clever. And the way you said it was just sort of like telling me what the joke was.
Yeah,
and his delivery, I'm sure, was like, but
to study it.
But I'm sure it went through its phases of like, how do I cut the fat on this and say, boom, present and all of that.
Yeah,
you were just admiring the craftsmanship
of
the joke.
I want to know what you thought about it. Or what
so
you
it starts
hear
off.
when you say
I
that.
noticed that a lot of people who are against marriage have a lot of tattoos.
Are pro tattoo.
Against marriage, pro tattoo.
Matters.
So that
Yeah.
Because like I hear that the first draft might have been like, but they also have a lot of tattoos.
Right.
Are pro tattoo.
And then people laugh because they hear pro tattoo.
That's weird. Like, and you think about it, and then as you sit with it, you're like, that's kind of true.
Yeah.
And you're like, why are you against marriage? I just don't believe in that kind of commit. Well, you have to set that up too.
Then he goes, a guy with a Sublime tattoo on his neck will say to me, I don't know how
on his neck.
Yeah,
like
so that matters.
Yes,
yeah.
That matters. Will say to me,
how can you, I don't understand how you can make such a lifelong commitment.
And then you just sit in the silence of it. It's a good one.
And then he goes on to do like several others, but like it's
with a Sublime tattoo on his neck. Even that is reference of like a 90s weird.
Yeah, like
guy.
It's a mistake.
Yes.
That was a mistake.
And he took it to the 90s, not a current tattoo.
Right.
Because it's still there.
Exactly.
It's dated.
And
so there's a lot.
Yeah, there's a lot going on there. Yeah.
And you can appreciate why every line is so intentional. Why did he say Sublime and not Billie Eilish? Because Billie Eilish is current, so it would feel fresh. But Sublime is like, oh, Sublime. Oh, this guy's a loser.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
And
having said that, what up? Yes. No, but that is the process. What you're talking about is totally the process. And I went to like a mic this week just to like work stuff out. And I'm like, oh, what I'm saying right now is just not worked out. I have a bit I'm working on, which is
what's it about?
Well, everyone's talking about Johnny Depp, Amber Heard. So this is just a funny thing. It's not like particularly smart or clever, but I was like, I was like, every once in a while, the internet just gives us this gift. The Johnny Depp, Amber Heard trials. It's like Tiger King just showed up and everyone just started watching it. Like no one knows how it happened, right? And I might cut that part out because that's not the internet, that's Netflix. But every once in a while, the internet just gives you this gift. Yeah. Like everyone just started watching this trial.
Yeah.
And the bit hasn't started.
This is like my favorite thing in the world.
Yeah, I know. Bombing.
No, not bombing. Of like getting in touch with
Yeah.
with what you want to say, and then saying it as simply as possible is so hard.
Yeah.
And it's so fun.
I was like, I'm loving watching this. It's like watching Judge Judy and Pirates of the Caribbean combined. See, I still have to work out how I'm going to deliver that.
Yeah.
Well, I have to set it up better with the Judge Judy part. I love watching it.
Well, what do you want to say? Why is it so funny to you?
I'm setting up a couple things.
No, forget about setting up. What do you think is so funny about Johnny Depp Amber Heard trial?
Okay. The Judge Judy thing, by the way, is just bonus. I threw it in because I can do a Judge Judy impression. Right? And I thought that was funny.
Uh-huh.
I might have to flip the order. That's the truth. Mm-hmm. And this is exactly it. I'm going to flip the order. What's funny about it is that everybody is Team Johnny, including me. Mm-hmm. I'm all about justice for Johnny.
Why is that funny?
But I haven't said it yet, Michael. I'm telling you what the bit is.
I don't want to hear the bit.
I have to explain it.
Okay.
What's funny about it is people. What's funny about it?
I would see a show like this where they go, I don't have a joke. I just want to tell you something.
What's funny about it is everybody is Team Johnny. Hashtag justice for Johnny, including me. She's clearly a narcissistic psychopath.
Yeah.
And he's clearly innocent. But let's be honest. The reason we think he's innocent is because when he talks, he just sounds so sexy and cool. Mm-hmm. So he could say anything on the stand and fully admit to being an animal and a monster, and we would still love it. You know, he could be like, the truth is, I did rape her repeatedly, over and over. I always wanted to be a musician, but not a rapist. But
couldn't help myself.
I couldn't help it, and I was very, very gentle when I did it, and she was asleep the whole time. And when I was done, I woke her up and I poured a mega pint. You don't know what a mega pint is?
No, you told me on the last episode.
A mega pint of semen on her face and chest. But I always wanted to be a musician. And we'd all be like, I think there's something funny in the fact that we just think Johnny's so cool. So doesn't matter what he's saying.
I think it goes deeper than that of like our ideas of right and wrong are so loosely based in morality and all based
on our vibe.
Like on the vibe.
Correct.
Like, and maybe,
so that's what I'm
maybe
getting
if you
at.
start there.
I want to start there, but I also want to do the Johnny Depp impression and explain that him saying anything.
We'll do the impression.
Yes, boss. Anyway, what I'm trying to get to is like watching him. Why is he? I was trying to figure out why is everyone loving Johnny Depp, and it's obvious. I think for the right reasons they're loving him because he's clearly abused and she's clearly crazy. But what if he was actually the guilty one, but he still had that same suave and coolness to him? I don't know if it's that funny.
So this is why I'm giving you a hard time.
Yeah.
Because I think if you're not like brutally honest about questioning the premise of it, like that's the reason ultimately the joke falls flat because you're like, because you may not articulate this, but someone in the crowd is gonna think to themselves like,
no, it resonates as true or not true.
Yeah, like the truth is he couldn't be a murderer. I wouldn't be okay with that. You know, like you have to get to the real.
But the question is
undebatable truth that we all agree on.
But the undebatable truth is like a lot of the videos that are like in his favor are like how he's handling himself and just how cool he is about everything. Not like the substance of it. The truth is, I did rape her over and you know? And I'm just like, I wanted to be a musician, not a rapist, but what can you do? Such is life.
Right. His defense is like, ladies and gentlemen, who do you trust? Me or her?
Or her. I mean,
I'm Johnny Depp.
I poured a mega pint. I mean, see, you're laughing. Now you're laughing. So there's something in there. It's not as true, and the reason is because it's so uneven. It's so true that she's crazy and he's innocent. So it's hard to dispel that. So I'd have to set it up in such a way where,
Sorry if I'm ruining it for you.
It's not. It's important. I'm trying to identify how to do this right. The Judge Judy thing is extra because I was like, I'm a huge Judge Judy fan. The Judge Judy fan is just, what if Judge Judy was the judge in this case? Miss Heard, on the 24th of January, you shat in Mr. Depp's bed. Is that correct? I'm speaking! Bert?
Well, like you said about Bruno Mars, like if you can sing the joke on acoustic, all that other stuff is just gonna make it incredible. But the joke on acoustic has to work.
Yeah, I know. I hear that. The problem is in comedy, like on stage for an audience is a very different testing ground than me and you talking about the joke or doing it at an open mic. Because I done stuff at open mics that just gets no reaction, and I do the same exact thing in front of an audience and it kills. And that's the problem with comedy.
But can it be that it's killing because of all the synths and like the production value? But
No.
like it's not going viral because
No.
the joke's not there. No,
I don't think so.
Okay.
In my experience, a joke can be good, but like, I guess an undeniable joke will work anywhere, but it's not just because it's dolled up. It's like the context and the setting, I think, influence how people process what you're saying.
Sure.
As funny or not funny.
Sure.
You're trying to get that laugh.
Sure.
And like, for
Right,
some
like
reason,
Joey Diaz in the wrong room is not going to make anyone laugh.
well, I think he can make any. I think
That's
it's just
true.
conversationally. But even the idea of the comedic arts, like when you're doing it, when you're doing a setup and a punch, if I did that to you one-on-one, you'd be like, what are you doing? Why are you talking to me like that? If I said to you, maybe not. I haven't done it long enough to know. Like, I'm still kind of working stuff out. It's hard to say, but in the delivery or something. But maybe once the joke is as tight as can be, it'll be funny anywhere. Maybe. You know what I mean? But in the workings out of it.
I think so.
I guess what I'm saying is, I think once a joke is tight as can be, it'll be funny anywhere. But in order to get there, you have to put it through the crowd experiment. You have to work it out in front of an audience to see what works. And then you can't know.
Right.
You can't get any information until then.
But I think when you develop your ear, you'll be able to hear, like, are they laughing because I just sound like Judge Judy? Or, like, are they laughing because what I said is funny? You know what I mean? Like, the laughs, I'm sure you can like, a good comic can calibrate, like, I got to go deeper.
Yeah.
Like I got through the set and they laughed, great, but like it wasn't the right laugh.
Right.
Like I need when I hear that laugh, I'll know it's right.
Right.
Like Bert Kreischer talks a lot about how like he knew that that story he tells about the machine. He's like I knew I had the ending when like the crowd laughed in a particular way. I knew the story was over.
Yeah, I need more stage time for that, but I'm just in this position where for a new joke, like, things have to be revealed to you on the heels of experimenting with it in front of a live audience.
Sure,
which sucks.
Sure. I never get to give you shit, so this is fun.
I like it. It's fine, and it's not fully there. But I definitely want to do the Johnny Depp impression, and I want to do it in a funny way. And I'm trying to figure out exactly what's funny about it, other than I think what's funny about it is Johnny Depp's way he talks about everything. Like, I had the video I posted of Johnny Depp doing nursery rhymes. Like, just the way he talks is so different and weird. The itsy bitsy spider, walked up the water spout, and down came the rain. Eventually, it washed the spider out completely.
What's funny to me is that, like,
I wanted to be a musician.
We take for granted that he's Johnny Depp, the character, but he gets up in the morning the same way I do, and he made a decision at some point to talk that way. Like at what point in your life this isn't my joke, but someone's like, they're like, when you see Johnny Depp, I want you to remember every morning before he leaves the house, he puts all those bracelets on.
Yeah.
And he puts all those necklaces on. He wasn't created that way.
He doesn't wake up like this. I'm ready for the day.
It's all a choice. Like, he's creating this thing called Johnny Depp, and it's not only is it really strange, but it's also might like get him out of like an abuse trial.
Yeah.
And like we're so obsessed obsessed with celebrity, we're gonna let him go.
But the thing is, you know what detracts from that? His innocence in the whole thing and her craziness kind of detracts.
Right.
If they were even and they both seemed equally crazy, it would make more sense to say, we believe Johnny more because he's so sexy and cool.
Right. Maybe it's funny because even if he was guilty, we'd let him go.
That's what I'm saying. That's my joke.
Yeah.
Obviously, she's a crazy narcissistic psychopath. He's innocent. We can all tell. We can tell she's lying. But if it was the opposite, and see, I have to work out exactly how I'm going to say it. But even if he seemed guilty, just by the way he talks, we would believe him.
We'd have to let him go.
We'd have to let him go. Yeah. Exactly. I'm going to steal that one there. We're co-writing here, Michael.
Yeah.
We'd let him go.
It's going to be the name of the special.
Did you, Mr. Depp? Now it says here she claims that you raped her over and over. I did do that. She claims you raped her repeatedly for 3 months. Is that true?
Well, yes.
It's true. I can say that that's factually accurate, but I was gentle. I made sure she was asleep the whole time. I gave pills upon pills upon pills, Anyway, we'll see how it goes Tuesday.
Yeah.
Fuck. Thanks, Michael, for the confidence. I'll work it out a few more times and see if I can have.
Where are you performing?
This place called The Caveat with some other comics. One of them is also a freestyle rapper. You should come.
Yeah.
Come to the show.
Tuesday.
I'm doing 15 minutes.
Wow.
I'll milk some more stuff.
That's a lot of time.
Michael is such a good hype man.
That's a
You
lot
are a
of
good
time,
hype man.
folks.
That's a lot of time.
It's just guy luck, folks.
But now I really want to sit down and like pick which jokes that I haven't been able to work into it. That I think, because there's a fine line between what I'm familiar delivering and what I think are better jokes.
You told a funny story that I thought you should incorporate into your stand-up.
Which is?
You were telling this girl about the time you saw her mother naked,
Mm-hmm.
and you said you were in 7th grade. You went to a friend's house for a sleepover. You walked in on his mom naked, and then this was the funny part. You came back to your friend and said, "I have to go."
That is a good story.
Because you're like 12. You're like, I have to go.
But that's only funny because it's Friday night.
Oh yeah, but you could you could swab that around.
Can I explain that on Friday nights we don't drive, we don't use electricity?
I don't think you'd have to.
I think that was funny because I'm like, it's Friday night and everybody in the room. I think it's
no, it's funny.
I have to go.
It's funny because you don't get to make those choices when you're that young.
Yeah.
You don't have a car.
What? I have to go. I'm going.
Yeah,
but we're 12. I'm going. It's a good joke.
Yeah.
You're right. I'll tell that one.
Yeah, there's like
I have the one about the nursing, the baby nurse that I'm gonna probably do at some point. I like that one. I'm saving up for the post-production surgery.
Did you buy me my deli meat?
Did you get me my deli meat? My deli? That one's getting in. I think I'll do. I mean, the Alex Jones one is scary for an audience, but it is fun. Liam Neeson one is a little dated, but I think it kind of works.
It's a little dated.
It's dated though. I do it because I'm like trying to work shit into it. I have other ones like I have some other stuff.
Did you replace Mickey Mouse?
Bernie Sanders getting a blowjob.
Yeah,
that could be interesting.
Yeah.
Constipated Trump. How to do other languages. That I'm fluent in many fake versions of languages.
Yeah.
I have a bit of like that I'm fluent in fake versions of languages, like fake Japanese, and like the hack to do a fake language for Japanese. You just got to get real constipated. Yeah, other ones. I don't know. There's other things to work out. We'll see. Oh, well, you get up there, Michael. Huh? Let's see what you got. I would like to see that.
I would love to. Yeah, I want to write. I would want to write stuff.
Yeah.
I don't have enough charisma.
You know what I'm scared of?
Charisma.
I know you don't have enough charisma to what?
To get by on charisma.
Oh, right. Well, that's an interesting thing that we spoke about too, which was like deciphering through podcast conversations and finding bits out of them. Because there's a lot of bits we come up with while podcasting.
Yeah.
Like, oh, that's a funny thing, and that could work on stage.
The Fauci trailer.
The Fauci trailer is a fantastic bit.
Yeah.
It has to just be really crafted.
Yeah.
You can't just like say it. Otherwise, I sometimes feel like we're living in a movie. Does anybody else feel like we're living in a movie? And you kind of have to really expound upon it. And at the very end, ain't that a booster? It's a great podcast line, but I'm realizing I'm sometimes writing and I'm like, wait a minute. There's so many bits right here.
Yeah.
There's bits everywhere. Kibbles and bits.
Yeah.
Anyway.
You could tell it's cool to listen to comedians on their podcast sometimes work those out, and they go through like several iterations.
Yes.
And then you'll see it sometimes in their stand up.
Yeah. And it's just about getting it super tight, and it's hard. It's a painful process so far, but it's I have done it. And do I feel any different now going into the next one? Kind of. No. Know what I mean?
Yeah.
Know what I mean?
Yeah. I hope you do well.
Thank you. Me too.
I'm sure you will.
But,
you've never done badly in front of a crowd, have you? Like a real crowd?
Stand up wise?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not open mics.
Yeah.
Oh, you have.
But those were like early days when I really had no idea what I was doing.
Yeah.
My very first comedy gig was like a hired backyard performance in front of a bunch of Orthodox Jews. And right before I started, somebody shouted out, "Be funny!" And I was dressed like a clown because it was Purim, so I was dressed as the Joker. I mean, I couldn't have set myself up worse. The guy told me in advance, he's like, "I want to book you for 20 minutes tonight." I'm like, I don't have an act, right? But he paid me, hired me to do it. I'm like, all right, let's see what we can do.
You do 30 seconds.
I got up there. He's like, dude, they love politics. Turns out nobody loves politics. Nobody.
Who was this guy?
I'll tell you. I can't name him, but he's a friend. I got up and burned through all my prepared material in 3 minutes. Everything I prepared.
Yeah,
3
that
minutes.
happened to me when I did.
17 minutes to go. And after that, I actually loosened up and things got a little funnier. But this would be a bomb by any qualification. Afterwards, somebody came up to me and said, "You were really funny. We're just not a laughing crowd." Now, granted, any comic, I imagine this is like the Lion's Den of audiences. It's outdoors, it's bad.
Yeah.
But literally, the band just played. I'm used to playing with the band, feeling comfortable, and then it's like, "We have a comedian." I'm like, "Oh my God." And one day I'll be able to tackle an audience like that. But this was the very first, and I was like, holy hell.
Elon
it was
has
uncomfortable. It was to be able to tackle any crowd.
Tackling like
this crowd especially.
I'm just like an assassin.
If I understood stand-up conceptually a little better, I would have done bits and been prepared, but I kind of wasn't. I kind of had a few lines, not bits. I had like some lines. I imitated like what's her name? The Somalian congresswoman? Ilhan Omar. I said, when it comes to COVID, I'm so glad that at AIPAC, at the conference is where it started, because I think it's time for the Jewish Zionist entity, the people, to be spread. And I'm like, what the fuck am I doing up here? I was like, Ilhan Omar put out a statement. It is time, I think, that we all, and I'm like, and people are just like, I did Louis Farrakhan. I was imitating Louis Farrakhan. I would never, ever, ever say that whatever. And I'm like, this. I did BB. BB worked. I knew I had a shot. I knew there was a moment of encouragement when I started doing Bibi Netanyahu. I was talking like this, when it comes together, I remember that when you came to Israel, Israel was no bigger than the Washington Beltway. And I was doing something. I don't remember what it was for. But some kid in the corner was like, like one kid with one clap. And I'm like, oh, God. So, I think I was doing the story of Purim as told by various politicians because I had no material. Anyway, I did.
That was a bomb.
It was a bomb.
Yeah.
And it wasn't pleasant. It wasn't pleasant. I even said to them, I'm like, what is going? I mean, it was a funny bomb.
Yeah.
But it was a bomb. So you're asking me if I ever did badly. Yes.
Yeah.
And it's very unpleasant.
Do you know Gary Goldman?
Sounds familiar.
He's like a New York
comic.
Like if you know Gary, you've probably seen him.
Does he have a very soft voice
stand up?
Like this? No, that's not him.
No, that's Todd Barry.
No.
Whatever. He's one of these guys. He's like in his 50s. He's been like on the scene forever. Yeah. You know who he was the guy who toured with Dane Cook on Tourgasm?
Sure. Which guy was he though?
The good-looking,
the Great
guy.
Depression.
Yeah, the Great Depression.
Yeah, okay.
So he does this joke. He does these jokes that if I did stand up, it's how I want to do it. He tells these 10-minute long stories. That seem real, but like he tells a joke that he saw a documentary about how all the states got their abbreviations in the 70s.
I've seen it. I've seen the bits.
I love it.
And they're just like
my favorite
thing. Shoot, so now what do we do?
Yeah, he's like Arizona, AR. All right, next one, Arkansas. Oh, okay. And then that's what I would do. I think if I did a set.
I can't wait to see it.
Yeah. And then if you're doing that and it bombs, it's kind of okay because like you're just getting from point A to point B.
Yeah, and also like if if the material is worked out, like it's worked out, and you do what you do. It's like playing a song. And if it gets to that point of comfort, but sometimes like your material relies on the reaction of the crowd to tell you if it's right. That's hard because then you're really like jumping out of off the diving board and you don't know if there's water in the pool or not. Yeah, how's that? It's true. You're like, a splash. I nailed it.
Very vivid image.
Yeah, vivid. I have one deep point to end on.
Okay.
I realized as I was sitting there the other day looking at my 8-year-old daughter, I got very heavy with the feelings. Like the only thing that exists is the present, right?
Well,
the past doesn't really exist, like in reality. And the future doesn't exist. It's just potentiality. And I'm saying it in a funny voice because it's too vulnerable for me to say in a serious voice. But I'm like, man, she'll never be 8 again on Tuesday, May 10th at 5:45, ever. She will be something else some other time, and she has been other things. All the past has happened already. Yeah. So that's like etched into reality as has existed before. Right?
Yeah.
But one thing she'll never be is the present. Every second, every time. And it just hit me real hard. I was like, man, like I just noticed this moment and I'm like, she'll just never be this again. And tomorrow, it's like, the past dies and you'll never have it again. Ever.
I'm waiting for you to like.
There is no punch.
To do the punchline. That's how you should tell a joke in the future. But and then end with the punchline. But
and I was like, I gotta take a shit.
How does that make you feel?
I don't know, it was heavy. It was just a heavy feeling. And I thought to myself, man.
You know what I think
That's
about?
it.
I think about that, but also she is the present. If time, we experience time the way we experience it. I try to think of she's also her future right now.
That's not true though. Like,
well, we don't know what her future is, but
so she's not those things.
No, we don't experience it that way. But
I know there's like that idea that you are everything you will be and have been and is
right now.
That's like an Einsteinian kind of like you are always just like before you were born, you semi-existed in some way. I don't know.
No, but, like looking down from heaven, I'm experiencing her this way, but like it's it's almost it's the same idea from a different. It's beautiful to be like I get to experience her daughter as an 8-year-old. Like I get to experience my daughter.
How did you turn this moment so depraved?
I get to experience my daughter.
Yeah, talk about your own kid.
As a 19-month-old. How lucky I am because I'm also God willing I'm also experiencing her as an 8-year-old right now.
But
I get to be here right now.
You get to be here, but that's all there is here.
No, that's all you're experiencing. That's not all there is.
Yeah, there is, because the future's kind of unknown. What if you're not, like, at some point there?
Right. Well, that's the
only thing that is happening is the present, and the only thing that's real is the present, and everything else is gone. Future doesn't exist yet.
I'm saying it's not gone. It exists. It exists on its own.
I guess what I'm saying is not that one thing doesn't exist or the other thing doesn't exist, but that what you're experiencing in the present is constantly the only time you'll ever experience it, and that was just a heavy.
Yeah. It's like mindfulness. It's mindfulness.
It's the only time you're ever gonna be at this moment. Like she'll only be this age one time, and more in the macro. Like they'll only be this age, and I think about that when, like you said before, like I think this is the good stuff. Remember you said that last episode, which is like this childhood phase for the kids will end.
Yeah.
And it won't happen again.
Yeah.
You know? So.
It won't happen for you.
Correct.
Again.
For me again.
You won't experience it ever again.
Right.
Yeah.
Unless we just keep having kids. Maybe we just have to do that. No, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
It's just a heavy thing. And as your kids grow, you'll start to like notice like that they're these real
grounding.
People. They're these real people. And like they're experiencing their childhood the way I did mine, and I put that in a box. Like I remember that as this kind of cohesive thing, chapter, which is what they're having now, and I'm looking at it from the other angle. And then I'll just be like one day, hopefully, a grandparent and be at that angle. Yeah, and that's it.
My daughter was going like it was bedtime, and she was just having fun.
Yeah,
like running around, and I was like, it's so awesome that she's so completely not worried about 10 minutes from now.
Mm-hmm.
Like she's just so content being alive
right
now.
Right.
And like why can't I be?
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, I feel like it's I don't know. The this is heavy. No, the things that we think about and project onto from like our college years, and we're always thinking about what will be. And as you now step into the will be, like the life now that we used to imagine forever. Like you spend a lot of your adolescence, teenagers, and like late teens thinking about your adult life and what that will look like, because you don't know so many things. You don't know who you're going to be married to. You don't know if you're going to have kids, who your kids are. And now we're sort of living that. And I guess that's also what hit me. It's just like we're in this space that we anticipated for so long.
Yeah. I feel
and here
very
we are.
lucky when I think about that.
Yeah, me too.
Like how lucky I am right now.
Yeah.
To be experiencing it this way.
Yeah.
Exactly. Because I feel like it was like a roll of the dice. Like,
and
I ended up in this dimension, and like I'm very grateful for it.
I think that's what I'm saying. And then I'm like, wow, and it's so precious.
Yeah.
So I'm just like, oh. And then every once in a while, you just get hit with the feels.
Yeah.
So I ran away.
So I got
That is episode 28. There's the punch. I took you through that whole story. I'm doing that bit to close. Just kidding. I didn't say
So I got in my car and I haven't stopped driving.
So I got in my car and I wanted to hold on to that feeling forever.
Told my wife, I'm going to go out and get some milk and some smokes. And I never went back.
And then we should superimpose us aging on this podcast as we sit here. So you never spoke to her again. I haven't seen her since she was 8. Hope she's well. I hear she's a doctor now. That's episode 28. Michael, we went a while. We're making up for last week's non-episode, and nobody cared. Yeah. So they're not going to care that this one's long. See you Tuesday night at the show, I hope.
Yeah,
it's
maybe,
downtown.
for
Nah,
sure.
maybe
Yeah,
not
no,
coming.
maybe definitely.
He's not coming. No, maybe.
All right. Buckle
Good stuff.
up.
Buckle up.
Episode.
We'll shake for real because we're lucky.
Okay.
To being grateful.
Being grateful.
Bye.